Karl Marx's Das Kapital is one of the most influential works in the history of political economy and socialist thought. Published in the second half of the 19th century, the work offers a profound critique of capitalism and lays the theoretical groundwork for Marxist economics. Marx wrote Das Kapital over several decades, with the first volume appearing in 1867, while the second and third volumes were edited and published posthumously by Friedrich Engels in 1885 and 1894, respectively. Marx's analysis revolves around concepts like surplus value, the exploitation of labor, and the contradictory dynamics inherent in capitalist societies. Historical context. Marx began formulating the ideas that would later be expanded in Das Kapital during the 1840s, a time of rapid industrialization and social upheaval in Europe. The Industrial Revolution had brought significant economic changes, leading to the growth of factories, the rise of the working class, and widespread inequality. Marx witnessed firsthand the impoverishment of workers, which fueled his desire to understand the structural causes of these conditions. In 1848, he co-authored the Communist Manifesto with Engels, which called for the overthrow of capitalist societies. However, it was Das Kapital that presented a more detailed and rigorous analysis of how capitalism functioned and why it was doomed to collapse. Structure and themes of Das Kapital. The first volume of Das Kapital, subtitled A Critique of Political Economy, focuses on the process of capitalist production. Marx begins by analyzing the commodity, which he sees as the basic unit of capitalist production. He explains that commodities have both a use value and an exchange value. The exchange value, according to Marx, is determined by the amount of socially necessary labor time required to produce a commodity. This concept leads Marx to the theory of surplus value, which is central to his critique of capitalism. Surplus value is the difference between the value produced by labor and the wages paid to laborers. Capitalists extract surplus value by paying workers less than the value they produce, thus generating profit. In later volumes, Marx turns his attention to the circulation of capital and the dynamics of capitalist economies. The second volume of Das Kapital explores the process of capital circulation and the reproduction of capital on both a simple and expanded scale. The third volume examines the tendency of the rate of profit to fall, a key aspect of Marx's theory of economic crises. Marx argues that as capitalists compete and invest in labor-saving technology, the organic composition of capital, the ratio of constant capital to variable capital, increases, leading to a decline in the rate of profit over time. This creates instability and periodic crises within the capitalist system. Labor, value, and exploitation. A central concern of Das Kapital is the relationship between labor and value. Marx distinguishes between concrete labor, which produces specific use values, and abstract labor, which creates value in the capitalist sense. He argues that under capitalism, labor becomes a commodity that is bought and sold on the market. Workers sell their labor power to capitalists in exchange for wages, but the value of their labor power is less than the value they create through their work. This difference, or surplus value, is the source of profit for the capitalist class. Marx's theory of exploitation rests on this understanding of surplus value. Unlike earlier economists such as Adam Smith or David Ricardo, who saw profit as a natural part of the production process, Marx argued that profit arises from the exploitation of labor. In Marx's view, capital is not just a material thing but a social relation that allows capitalists to appropriate surplus value from workers. This exploitation is masked by the wage system, which creates the illusion that workers are being paid the full value of their labor when, in fact, they are only receiving a fraction of it. Alienation and commodity fetishism. Marx also explores the concept of alienation in Das Kapital, building on ideas he had developed in earlier works. In capitalist societies, workers are alienated from the products of their labor, the production process, their fellow workers, and their own human potential. This alienation is a direct result of the capitalist mode of production, in which labor is reduced to a mere means of survival, and workers are estranged from the creative and social aspects of their work. One of the most striking aspects of Marx's analysis is his discussion of commodity fetishism. He argues that in capitalist societies, social relations between people are disguised as relations between things. Commodities appear to have an intrinsic value, independent of the labor that produced them, and the market appears to operate according to its own laws, beyond human control. This fetishism of commodities obscures the underlying exploitation and alienation that characterize capitalist production. The tendency toward crisis. Marx's theory of economic crises is another crucial aspect of Das Kapital. He argues that capitalism is inherently unstable and prone to crises due to its internal contradictions. One of these contradictions is the tendency of the rate of profit to fall, which arises as capitalists invest in technology to increase productivity and reduce labor costs. While this may boost profits in the short term, it leads to a higher organic composition of capital and a lower rate of profit in the long run. As the rate of profit declines, capitalists face increased competition, and the system enters a period of crisis. In addition to the falling rate of profit, Marx identifies other factors that contribute to capitalist crises, such as overproduction, underconsumption, and the concentration of capital. He argues that as capital accumulates, wealth becomes concentrated in the hands of a few, while the majority of workers remain impoverished. This creates a situation where workers cannot afford to buy the goods they produce, leading to overproduction and economic stagnation. Legacy and influence. Das Kapital had a profound impact on political thought, economics, and social movements. In the decades following its publication, Marx's ideas inspired revolutionary movements across Europe, particularly in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The work became a foundational text for socialist and communist parties, and its influence can be seen in the development of labor movements, workers' rights campaigns, and Marxist theory in the Soviet Union, China, and other countries that pursued socialist revolutions in the 20th century. In academic circles, Das Kapital has also shaped debates in economics, philosophy, and sociology. Marx's critique of political economy challenged the classical economic theories of the time and laid the groundwork for later developments in economic thought. His ideas about the exploitation of labor, the dynamics of capitalist crises, and the social relations of production continue to be studied and debated by scholars around the world. Das Kapital remains a critical work for understanding the nature of capitalism and its social, economic, and political implications. Through his analysis of commodities, labor, value, and exploitation, Marx provides a theoretical framework for understanding the contradictions and crises that are inherent in capitalist societies. Although the world has changed significantly since the 19th century, many of the issues Marx addressed, such as inequality, exploitation, and economic instability, continue to resonate today. For this reason, Das Kapital remains a vital text for anyone interested in the dynamics of capitalism and the possibilities for creating a more just and equitable society.